Hello everybody, this is the first part of the tutorial series I'm gonna make on how to make a basic inventory system. So let's begin. Here I made a simple empty project using Unity 3D. The background I'm using the camera, solid color, the color. I've imported two sprites, one for the slot and one for the item, and created a scripts folder. So now let's start. First, what we need to set, we go in project settings, tags and layers, and we're gonna need three tags: slot, item and drop area, and the layer called slot. Now let's see. First we're gonna need to create a panel. We're gonna call it drop area and tag it with drop area. This is gonna use 0 alpha, so it's invisible. The canvas settings, I usually go with scale with screen size and input a full high definition resolution like 1920 by 1080. Next I'm gonna do another panel and I'm gonna call this inventory. Okay, this is gonna be 1024 by 256 and 128. Okay, now let's use this as our inventory panel. Now we're gonna create the slots. The slots are just an image. We're gonna rename it as slot, and we're just gonna modify the size to 200 and the position as minus 256 by 128. We can see it here. Now all we need to do is copy and paste this, like duplicating. Now we have 4, and for the last one we duplicate and 256. Okay, and so we have 6 slots. We select all these game objects, go tag slot, layer, slot. Great. Now this is it. Oh, I forgot, we select the slots and drag and drop our sprites, of course. Now what do we have? We have the inventory base, we have the slots. Now we're gonna need to do the item. So let's see, we're gonna place the item on the slot. We go UI and another image, and we're gonna rename this to item. We're gonna tag it as item, and we're just gonna resize it to 175, so it's almost the size of its parent, which is 200. Okay, now we're gonna need to add an event trigger, and we're gonna edit this later based on the script. Now we go to scripts, create inventory item. We're gonna open the script. It's gonna open in Visual Basic Studio. Okay, and let's see here what we need. Well, we're gonna need a few things. First, we're gonna need to refer to the rect transform. So public rect transform rt. We're gonna need to use Unity Engine.ui and Unity Engine.event systems. So event systems are for the event trigger. Now let's see, what else do we need? We need a public game object for our parent slot. We're gonna name it this slot. Next, we're just gonna make some private vector tree for the scaling of the item when it's dragged and when it's not. So original scale and dragged scale. Great. So now another thing, for checking when we drop the item, so we click on it, we drag it, and then when we drop it, we need to find out what UI elements are under the item. And in 3D this is easy with a raycast, but for the graphics UI the raycast is not working, so it's gonna need another type of detection, and I'm just gonna use the default one from Unity documentation. So public graphic raycaster, we're gonna call this m_raycaster. Next, a pointer event data called m_pointer event data, and a public event system called m_event system. Okay, now we have this. Let's see what we need next. In the start, in the beginning, we need to calculate the drag scale. So we need original scale equal to rt.local scale, then drag scale equal new vector 3. We're gonna calculate this from original scale.x, scale.y, and original scale.z. Until now the drag scale is exactly the same as the original scale. What we're gonna add here is multiplied by 0.75, multiply 0.75, multiply 0.75. So the drag scale is a little smaller than the original scale. Okay, so yeah, next, what's gonna happen when we begin to drag it? So we're gonna need to make a public void called begin drag. Here what we're gonna do, we need to change the scale, so rt.local scale equal to drag scale, so we resize the item. Then we need to unparent it, so rt that transform that parent, it's gonna need to be something like transform that parent that parent that parent. So if we save this and go back, you see here that the item is under the slot, which is under the inventory, which is under the canvas. So we get this, this, and this. So when we unparent it, it's something like drag it here outside the slot and outside the inventory into the canvas. If you will have some more complicated things here, you can just make a public field for the canvas and drag and drop it and select it as the parent. Okay, let's see. Next we need to, oh yeah, and set it as the last one. So the last one, so it will render over all the UI on the screen, at least for this canvas. So rt that transform, and we're gonna set here set as last sibling, so it's the last game object in the canvas, so it's rendered over all the other UI elements. Okay, we begin the drag, and then we need to end the drag, but first we need public void drag. Okay, drag. What's gonna happen here? Well, it's just a simply line of code, rt.position equal input.mouse position. Yeah, it's that simple. Let's save it. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna make public void end drag. So what happens when we end dragging? And before we do that, let's make another void, call it check, and here we're gonna have something like this. So am underline pointer event data equal new pointer event data, and we're gonna input here am underline event system. Sorry, like this. Here it's position equal put that mouse position, and we close it here. Okay, like this, we close it here. Don't ask me because I don't actually know very well. It's from Unity documentation, this part. Next we make a list with raycast result, okay, called results equal new list raycast result, and the line raycast pointer event data and results. So I guess we are putting this into the results list. Basically we get all the UI under the mouse position. And now what we're gonna do sorry, so let us think. So we need the first item that gets under the mouse, it's the item itself. So we're gonna need to access the second one in the list, because the first one, it's always gonna be the item. And if we set the item as, you know, not to use the raycast, then we are gonna be unable to drag it. So yeah, let's see, we make like if results, and we're gonna input here 1, so the second one in the list, dot game object that compare tag. So if the tag is slot, then we're gonna check again results 1 game object transform, and we're gonna get a child count. So the child, if that slot has already an item on it, then the child count will be 1. So if it's 0, it means it doesn't have any child on it, any item on it. So if it doesn't, then slot equal results 1 dot game object. So we basically say this is your new parent. And now in the end drag, we're gonna say rt dot local scale equal original scale. So we reset the scale, and then we say check. So here we're gonna check it if we are or not gonna change our parent, our slot. So if we don't change, then the slot remains the current one. If we do change it, then we need to move the item to that position. So we're gonna say transform that parent equal to slot that transform. So we need to parent it to that slot. If it's the current slot, it's not gonna happen, nothing is gonna happen. So but if it's another slot, it's gonna do this reparenting, and local position equal to vector3 dot 0. So we actually, you know, when we're parenting to the new slot, we are zeroing it, so it's in the middle of the new slot. And basically this is the whole system. Now in Unity, let's see, we drag and drop the inventory item, and let's drag here. So event system, let's drag the event system here. Oh sorry, the event system go into the event system, the slot goes into the slot, so the first slot goes here, the raycaster is on the canvas, and the art is ourself, so this rec transform right here. And let's place the apple, and also let's see, let's duplicate this and put it on the fourth, and 0 0. Okay, and this one will have the slot 4 as its parent. And the last step, the item, we're gonna need a pointer down, pointer up, and drag. Plus plus plus, and we drag the item into each of these one. Pointer on pointer down is begin dragging, on pointer up it's ending dragging, and on drag it's just drag. Okay, we're gonna do this again. We duplicate it, we move it on the fourth slot, 0 0. We have this, and we drag the fourth slot into this. Okay, so let's see what we have done. So we can drag the apples into the slots. If we drag the apple somewhere else than a slot, it's just going to be, you know, getting back. If we drag one apple over the other, it won't change. And to demonstrate that, let's replace let's see this item, let's see this apple, we're gonna make it darker. So if we drag this, you can see it won't swap with each other, something like that. Okay, so basically this is the most basic system and just the graphics. In the next part, I'm gonna set up the pickup like in a 3D world or 2D world. The character will need to, you know, interact with the physical object and then pick it up and converting it into a UI item, and also dropping it back into the world. So yeah, so that's gonna be the second part of the tutorial. Until then, have a nice day and good luck with your projects.